All right, let's go to Harare now, where we're joined via Zoom by the Zimbabwe Council of Churches Secretary General, Rev Dr Kenneth Mtata. Thanks so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program. We heard there from Minister Ziambi saying that the church has overstepped its role and has become political instead of staying in the churches. Your reaction to that?
Thank you very much for having me, Peter. I think the relationship between the church and the state has always been characterized by whether the church will focus on what it considers to be the spiritual affairs of the people and leave the material issues to other actors. But I think historically, especially in Zimbabwe, we have seen that the church, from the time of the liberation struggle, when Zimbabwe was under colonial rule, the church played a very important role, both spiritually and materially, to make sure that Zimbabweans were aware that racism and racial segregation undermined the dignity of citizens, and therefore were supportive of all efforts to find freedom from colonial oppression. And after independence, the church did not stop from that double responsibility of people to go to heaven, as well as living a dignified life here on earth. And I think there is always this tension, whether the church has overstepped its responsibility, I think will always depend on the governor of the day. But the responsibility of the church, if the church is fully engaged in search for abundant life for all people.
So traditionally, the church has always been in the community and sees firsthand the challenges that ordinary people face on a daily basis. What have you seen in recent years about daily life and some of the struggles and the challenges that the people are facing?
When the church issues a communique or a pastoral letter, it comes from a long period of collective discernment on the basis of the experiences of the congregants. When a family cannot find food, the first port of call is the church. They come and ask their religious leader how they can survive. If they are facing challenges, they cannot access medication at the hospital because the doctors and nurses are on strike. They seek the help of the church. And it is from these experiences that the church then issues such a communication to seek the response of the government. The churches always recognize government as the ultimate responsibility to address the welfare of the nation. But the church definitely has got its parts on the experiences of the people who are really struggling, especially in the current situation in Zimbabwe.
The authorities say that there is no crisis in Zimbabwe and that a lot of this hype is manufactured for some reason. From where your vantage point is the country in a crisis?
I think we can play around with words. Whether you call it a crisis, whether you call it problems and so forth. For the ordinary person, when they are confronted with overwhelming problems, which they cannot deal with, more than 90% of Zimbabweans are informally employed. And if due to COVID-19 they cannot access any income because they cannot access their spaces where they sell their goods, If they go to the hospital and the doctors and the nurses are on strike for more than 5 months, if you have money in the bank but you cannot have it because the bank does not have enough money, for the ordinary person, it doesn't really matter what you call that. But I think if you call it a crisis, it makes a lot of sense, because actually these are problems that are compounded, they are overwhelming, and they are affecting the ordinary person in ways that are more than they have been dealing with for quite a long time. So if to say there is no crisis, then would just be a matter of semantics. But the challenges we are facing as a nation are quite overwhelming.
Are there human rights abuses being carried out and perpetrated by the authorities?
Yes, I think these issues are not speculations. The issues that people are raising are issues that the government actually had an opportunity to address. When I look at the pastoral letter that the Catholic bishops presented, I thought that the government missed an opportunity actually to address some of these issues. One, at the level of perception, but secondly, at the level of reality. But if the communication from government is total rejection of what is going on, and then label everyone who is raising these issues as being influenced by some kind of regime change agenda, I think then the crisis here becomes compounded, because then many people start to ask themselves, is it only that those who are in government are experiencing a reality that is completely different from the rest of the people who are raising concerns? Because the church is not interested in accessing political power. The church is not trying to change anything. So when the church, from its observation, raises these issues, the government has an opportunity actually to set the record straight first by engaging these issues. If you have a young man who has been taken from his brother, who is a journalist, and he has been taken by police, and when he is in police custody, someone comes and take him and they torture him for days, and they leave him with so many wounds, with so many injuries, and he is carried by a police ambulance to go to court to prove that he is still alive. If you say that this is not a human rights violation, then the communication from government seems not to be responding to the concerns, to the genuine concerns that are being raised. So I think there is need, the government has an opportunity to correct not only the perception, but what is really happening on the ground. I think you will be aware that there was a point when the Minister of Foreign Affairs came out and said maybe some of these incidents that we are seeing are the result of a third force. And now the language is saying actually these things are happening. These are videos from the past. If you have this mixed communication that is coming from the government, then many people start to ask questions whether there is a genuine interest to address some of the genuine issues that are being raised.
All right. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but perhaps briefly, if you could answer, do you get a sense that there's growing intolerance to dissent? And do you think that the church is being tolerated less and less as time passes?
I think the church has always sought to accompany the government in carrying out its responsibility in a way that is impartial, but in a way that is pushed by the concerns of the most vulnerable members of society. This is not, you don't hear a pastoral letter that is so forthright coming out of the church. Normally, the communication speaks, and even at the end of this statement, you can see the church is seeking to bring the nation together in a process of meaningful engagement. It will be a lost opportunity if the government does not see this as an invitation for the nation to come together for a genuine national dialogue.